Okay, welcome to Ramentech here. And also, thank you for taking the time today. So actually, I came here from Bangkok this morning, so maybe I look so exhausted. Okay, but I'm very excited to be here to join as a moderator here today. So with distinguished guests from Southeast Asia, but unfortunately from India. So he cannot come today, but we can enjoy with all of us today. Okay, so, sorry for. Okay, wait 1 minute. Okay, before I start, so let me introduce by myself quickly. So I am Matsuura from Jethro Bangkok. So maybe some of you already know Jethro, but Jethro have a pretty much network all over the world, and also in Japan. So we have every branches, every prefecture throughout Japan. On the other hand, overseas, we have over so far 75 overseas offices in 55 countries. So Jethro is now fostering the co-innovation between Japan and the rest of the world. So I am focusing on Japanese startups, business matching in Thailand. So, okay. So after that, so can I introduce your team you quickly? So let's have a short introduction from our participant today. So can you introduce yourself, Omar?
Hello, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Omar here from Artem Ventures. First of all, I would like to thank Ramentech for inviting me to be part of this great panel today. A little bit about myself. I started into the startup ecosystem back in probably 2014 when I co-lead a startup called Crowdo. It's a startup that's a fintech. That does equity crowdfunding, P2P lending, and we were in 6 markets, including Malaysia, and Indonesia. So moving forward, I joined the government of Malaysia agency called Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation for a few years, and then I joined another government agency by the Ministry of Finance of Malaysia to develop a program called Penjana Capital. Basically, we invest in venture funds, or similar like Cool Japan, I think. That's what we did. And now I'm a partner at the local venture capital firm called Artem Ventures. We predominantly invest early stage from pre-seed to seed, from fintech, health tech, medtech, and also insurtech, of course. We invest on behalf of FWD Insurance. It's a single LP fund. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. So please, Paolo from Techshake.
So hello, everyone. I also want to thank Ramentech for inviting me to speak today. This is my second year actually in Fukuoka, my second time also in Fukuoka. And I always look forward to actually eating the ramen. I always look forward to also visiting Japan because maybe a bit about Techshake and how it started. My co-founder in Techshake is actually also Japanese. I met him in the Philippines around 2015, 2016. And one of the things he asked me specifically was, why isn't there any information about startups in the Philippines? So that's how Techshake was born. We started out as a media company that were covering the startup scene in the Philippines. Since then, we were able to organize our own innovation conference, such as this, called the Ignite Innovation Conference. It's been running for almost 8 years now. So that's happening actually next week. That's why my co-founder can't join me today, because we're busy organizing that. And personally, I've been active in the startup space for almost more than a decade, more as an operator and also a software developer. So I used to build software for startups before working on Techshake. But since then, we were able to kind of bring out a larger regional footprint, especially creating that bridge between Japan and the Philippines. So that's why Jethro is also a close partner of ours in the Philippines. We also work with different corporates, mostly also corporates from outside looking into Southeast Asia. And I think from that, another idea formed for us to start the Atlas Alliance, especially with our partners here, like Mimi from Texas in Thailand. Then we also have partners in Vietnam. They were here also giving a talk from IndoLab, and also Indonesia through Kompol. So we really see really see Southeast Asia as the next frontier. So that's why we invested specifically to create those alliances within Southeast Asia. So I think that's a bit about Techshake, and I hope, yeah, maybe we can go with Chandra already next.
Thank you, Paolo. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Chandra. I'm the founder and managing partners of IndoGen Capital. First, I would like to say thank you to the Fukuoka City Ramentech organizers, and then also to Jethro for arranging the sessions today, and then giving us the opportunity with me, Omar and also Paolo, talking about the opportunity in Southeast Asia. Yeah. So we believe that Southeast Asia is such a promising region. As a region, we have a young populations. We have a massive population numbers, still increasing in terms of population numbers, and then a very good GDP growth between 5 to 7% within all the Southeast Asian countries. So we really believe that it's a good opportunity actually for Japanese companies, Japanese startups actually to look for the region. So about IndoGen Capital, we are a venture capital based in Jakarta. We are now operating 3 funds, 2 venture capital funds and then 1 private debt fund. So we have made 35 investments. We have done 4 exits. We have 2 unicorns company in our portfolio companies. And then our specialty is actually helping many startups to expand into Indonesia. So we have helped startups from Malaysia, startups from Philippines, Japan, actually to expand into Indonesia. And not just startups, but also traditional companies as well. We are currently helping 1 unicorn company from Korea, and then 1 unicorn company from Japan, expanding into Indonesia. So very excited to meet all of you during and after the events. And then if you have any business opportunity that you want to bring to Southeast Asia, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So all of you, a key ecosystem builder in Southeast Asia. So I was very surprised that before joining this session, so all of you have already get connection between all of you. So this is a kind of strong point for Southeast Asia. So in Japan, so for example, from experience, so here in Fukuoka, but I originally from Tokyo, I did not have enough idea what is a Fukuoka city, to tell the truth, what startups is there or something like that. But in the Southeast Asia, you have already connected and pretty much information for sharing each other. It's kind of very attractive, also Japanese startups also. Okay, so let's move. Oh, it's okay to switch off. ちょっと聞いて大丈夫ですか? Okay. Okay, so let's move to the final session from here now. So maybe some of you would like to know the idea or information of each country's marketing chances, opportunity, for example, maybe. So could you explain the latest market trend, especially for startups, not only startups, for major company, for each your country? Do you have any idea from Chandra is good?
Sure, I'll start first. So if you look at the latest trends, basically for Indonesia and Southeast Asia in general, we have a big consumer market. So in Indonesia, we have 280 million populations. And then the GDP growth was about 5 to 6% a year. Average median age is 29 years old, so very young population, very high consumptions. So anything that related to e-commerce, logistics, because we are island countries, we're very attractive. Fintech, obviously, because the penetration for, I think like lending is actually still very low. And then lots of opportunity there, high interest rate. So lots of opportunities, definitely. Selling products, simple as that, is actually, you can be very successful because typically the margin is still very healthy. Typical margins are always double digit, so not typical like in Japan, I think. So depends. I think the market situation is if you can find the right partners. So that's usually the how we start. We try to connect you to the right partners to penetrate and then to immediately find revenue when you enter the market. That's how we start. But of course, just coming to Indonesia will not be enough. That's why I also will recommend you to connect to my peers here, looking for Malaysia, looking for Philippines as well, because the market is actually quite similar, one into another. In terms of opportunity, also quite similar. Maybe some minor adjustment here and there, but the game plan will be about the same. And then if you connect it to the right person, then you can actually enter successfully into each country. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. So maybe in Japan, as you know, the population for working force is not good situation to not so young generation here today, but the market opportunity for Indonesia is differently the B2C or consumer market, right? Okay, it's interesting. Okay, so how about you, Paolo?
Yeah, sure. It's funny when Chandra mentioned those things. I feel like I'm just gonna echo exactly what you said. So the funny thing about the Philippines is that as a general country, we're actually good at everything, but not the best at everything. So for example, like when it comes to e-commerce and commercial, like consumer industry, obviously Indonesia actually has the largest stake in that with 300 million people. But in the case of the Philippines, I would also echo what Chandra is saying. It's also growing in terms of the consumer industry. Also lending is actually really growing. And I see, this is really funny, but I see a new lending company set up in the Philippines almost every week. I've also seen how I work with several partners, and some of the interest rates that they give for non-collateralized loans are like around 2% to 3% per month with 5% initial outlay. So it adds up to 45% per year. So, and businesses are taking it. So that's one thing I've seen. Businesses that are specifically focused on consumer industry are growing heavily.
Okay.
Because in our case also, I've invested also in a live selling e-commerce company. And the rate at how much that company grew is like they went with from a single room, 100 square meters, to 1,000 square meter room with 300 live sellers in the span of 1 year. So the demand is there. Like what you said also in terms of margins, it's also actually there. And we've seen a lot of people, a lot of businesses outside the country invest in bringing their consumer products into the Philippines just to target our consumer demographic. And I think maybe just to speak real quickly about the demographic that you're looking at. In Japan, you have a large middle class. Right?
Yes.
In the Philippines, it's not big. Actually, the social class in terms of CD market is actually the biggest.
Okay.
But that's why when it comes to pricing, you price low, but you make it an affordable luxury. Because even if, like, let's say we're going through a recession, Filipinos, when they buy products, they still want to feel good. So the actual playbook and strategy for consumer products is very straightforward in the Philippines. So, and also to add to that, our fintech is also working really well because our penetration before 2020, when it came to like online banking and things like that, was less than 50%. But since the pandemic happened, it's already almost at 98%. In terms of online banking, specifically when not 98%, maybe multiple accounts are there, but let's say something like GCash, which is an online wallet, already has 98 million users in the Philippines. So specifically that, and maybe I can talk more later, especially when it comes to the Japan-Philippine connection.
Okay, sounds good. So, yeah, so for us, so the consumer-related business is main factor for reaching out new market from Japanese, not only Japanese startup, but also local startup also. Okay, sounds good, interesting.
So, so Malaysia is a bit different for us because so our population is around 30 million. We have a big middle income group, not too young, I would say, probably median around 30 to 35. But one thing that we're quite interestingly a bit different is our B2B market, B2B segment. So our B2B market is probably the best performing ones across compared to B2C. I think a lot of exits from venture capital investments in Malaysia is an exit coming from B2B, right? So that's one thing, interesting thing about Malaysia. Another thing that we do is we produce a lot of talent. If you know Grab was origin from Malaysia, right? And the first decacon of Southeast Asia. And of course, and I think you know the next unicorn is Artem and whatnot. But I think I just want to, going back to B2B business, if you really want to penetrate Malaysia and whatnot, is B2B is the best way, I would say. One key thing that I think I can put an example to Japanese companies, and the biggest payment gateway in Malaysia now is owned by Japanese. Is owned by NTT. So NTT just bought over two biggest payment gateway that have access across, I think, 40 million accounts, and a market share of 80% is by NTT, right? So they're going aggressively. And I think the biggest large supermarket chain in Malaysia is Aeon, right? And Aeon, one interesting about Aeon Group, wherever they open up a new building, a new segment in small towns, they will create a new economy. So everyone, real estate business will follow Aeon. Because once Aeon open up there, means you know there will be a big neighborhood, there will be a big economy growth in that specific area. And Aeon is really good at identifying upcoming tier 2 cities. So a lot of developers really work closely with Aeon. All right, so I think, yeah, in summary, I think that's just a bit about Malaysia and also the opportunities as well.
Thank you, Omar. So you mentioned about the Japanese company, so Aeon or NTT Group also has play a big role in Malaysia also, the same as in Thailand also. So my question is that for Omar is that do you have any idea for the business collaboration between the local company, so maybe local company entity or Aeon Group and the local Malaysia startups for like fintech or something? So do you have any idea for the collaboration model between Aeon or NTT with local startups?
So Aeon actually launched their first corporate venture capital outside of Japan in Malaysia recently, right? Probably a year ago. They've made, I think, 5 investments. One of the key things they want is to use that capital to synergize with startups, local or foreign. I think that's something that's interesting as well. Another thing is, Malaysia government also have launched a sandbox, where if you have a problem statement that that the country face and you require licensing or anything, you can enter the sandbox, local or foreign.
So maybe sandbox we need to explain about sandbox. So it's kind of incentive promotion, so incentive route or.
Yes. So sandbox basically is where it's you and the government work together, trying to find a solution and also develop policy from the sandbox that will help you to grow as a company and also help the government to protect themselves. Yes. For instance, I give you an example. A sandbox is where if you want to talk about digital banking. So digital banking started with collaboration between the private sector and the government or the central bank. They work together in a sandbox. Once they work together, they launch a policy in terms of the requirement to launch digital banking, and that's one of the key outcomes of the sandbox, right? And the sandbox also will sometimes, in certain cases, they will give you grants to develop that solution for the industry and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's good. So as you mentioned, the sandbox is a key factor for many Japanese many startups for starting new businesses. So there are regulation, the policy from the government side.
Yeah. So another thing is, Malaysia is going through a transition. I think Malaysia is following the footsteps of our peers in Singapore. Before, for foreign companies to set up in Malaysia, you need to have a local partner. Right. I think one of the key changes was due to Elon Musk. Tesla was the first company or car company to set up in Malaysia without a local partner. So they set up a whole subsidiary, 100% owned by Tesla. So previous model like Toyota, Nissan, also they have to have a local partner. This is the old model. So the new model is now helping foreign companies to set up easily. So you don't need a local partner. You can set up 100% wholly owned foreign, except for banking. Banking, insurance, and I think another one is, I can't remember, but I think transport.
Okay.
Yeah, but the rest is really an open area, so you can come in 100% owned by foreign entity.
Okay, sounds
Well, without additional fees.
okay. Thank you so much. So, okay, so let's talk about the open innovation between major company and startups. Maybe some of you are from startups, so you are also looking for some business opportunity with local major company. So startups could be a partner in Southeast Asia. So if you have any success cases or idea for the collaboration between major company and startups for your country, so do you have any comment, Chandra?
So actually, it's very important for the startups let's say if you're from Japan and you want to expand into Southeast Asia, that you have a success story in your own country first, right? It's very important because Southeast Asian countries, they actually need help in terms of real technology. Like I mentioned before, we are a big consumer market. So either it's B2B like from Malaysia or B2C like Philippines or Indonesia. So we actually have no issue with booking revenue and profitability because of the good profit margin. But the problem is we need help in terms of technology because most of the companies, they are very comfortable booking revenue and profits. They oftentimes forget about improving the technology side of the services. So having foreign investors coming in usually can help. Like for example, NTT with iPayMu, right, in Malaysia. And then NTT also right now, I'm going to have a call with NTT next week because they are looking to enter Indonesia as well. So it's very coincidence, Omar. Yeah, but next week I'm going to have a call from the NTT headquarters from Tokyo, actually asking about some of the investment that they're planning to make in Southeast Asia. And because of that, we need help. But from my past experience, many of the startups that trying to come to our region actually have no success story in their own country, which is, it's tough to introduce to, like the big company, potential partners, conglomerate groups, because they will operate based on, of course, the past history, right? Past success history. So we need like success story, then we can easily help with the introductions to maybe the companies that can utilize them, okay?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. How about Paolo?
Yeah, sure. Maybe specifically for the Philippines, maybe to also talk about B2B in general. I think it's different in Malaysia because in the Philippines, it's actually very difficult to enter with a B2B product because especially when it comes to older companies and conglomerates, they're more comfortable in their way of actually working on things, and it's usually difficult to convert them into newer technology or newer processes. So what we usually do when we help Japanese startups expand to the Philippines is we also target specific Japanese businesses in the Philippines because there's already that relationship. So it's already much easier for them to kind of incorporate into their business processes. But if you were to go to the Philippines, there will be two ways. I feel that it's a bit stronger right now, as of the moment. One is if you're targeting the consumer side of things, right? So whether you're a consumer product or, I mean, one good example would be, does anybody use Viber here? Rakuten Viber. Actually, in the Philippines, it's the second largest used messaging app in the Philippines. So it was kind of funny also when they started advertising Viber dating because a lot of people actually picked it up and so people picked it up in the news. Or if you're doing consumer, like for example, we recently signed with Mitsukoshi also, and we encountered startup consumer brands going through Mitsukoshi to sell to the Philippine consumer market. So that's also something that we helped out with. And the second way also is if you're planning to kind of expand your workforce In our case, we were able to help scale some startups from 0 to 80 people, especially it's not anymore the traditional way where you hire people for, let's say, BPO or voice or customer service. It's more on technical talent.
Okay.
Like in our case, we help with chemical research. I also have a friend who operates the company called Teleexistence. It's also a $600 million company here in Japan.
Okay.
But a huge bulk of their workforce are also from the Philippines. So we operate in the same hub also.
That's good. Yeah.
So I think that's another way of also looking at it. Like, what can you leverage in that given country? And I think in the Philippines, the advantage really is usually the people. I know that our friends also in Vietnam have very good technical people. Thailand also very good creative people. I think the difference is that it's a bit cheaper in the Philippines. And I think the 3-hour flight difference is actually, maybe it also makes a difference. So those are the two things I would focus on.
Okay, so thank you. So as you mentioned, sorry, from my perspective, for many Japanese startups, not only Japanese startups, so major company that in charge of new business development, they feel these difficulties in looking for some new talent, engineering and sales department or something. So maybe this topic is already picked out of last session. So in Southeast Asia, so if not in Thailand, we can find it out in Thailand. So we can support your talent information, right? Hiring a talent workforce. Supporting.
In the Philippines?
Yeah, do you have an example for as a Techshake support?
Yeah, Techshake. Like I mentioned, we do support several startups. One of them is specifically for chemical research. The thing is, the Philippines, a big portion of our GDP is actually from the services sector. We're not a manufacturing company anymore. We're not an agricultural company. Most of our GDP or contribution in GDP is either services, BPO. We do still have a lot of manufacturing, but it's more of surface layer where we import, then the final packaging is done in the Philippines and it's shipped out. Okay. So still a huge base of our population is already trained to specifically be for outsourcing. If you look at some notable startups that have hired, like for example, I'm not sure if anybody here uses Canva. Canva, the design. So 99% of the designs on Canva are made by Filipinos. So our creative industry, actually, yeah, Canva, their first office was above my office in the Philippines. So that was their first outsourcing location. And obviously there's that specific area where it's still just regular BPO outsourcing, right? So I think the advantage really when it comes to the Philippines is specifically from Japan is, that time difference is also very similar. I know language is usually a barrier, but since a lot of Filipinos already speak English, it's already much easier to communicate as long as you're able to understand English, right?
That must be true, yeah.
So
let me talk about Canva. So, okay, so I need that. Okay. So this is my experience for Japanese. Almost for all Japanese workers, do not have enough time to design for presentation material. So, but also the language is so limited. So as you know, that could be possible for collaboration with Philippine companies with Techshake, and also the Techshakes like you, one of the prominent accelerator in the Philippines, could be a supporter for marketing in your country. That's really the collaboration that Canva just only could be a trigger that could lead to the marketing partner yourself. It's interesting. So let's move to the final session. So I'd like to ask about the trend, key factors to be a unicorn or promising startups in each your country, like healthcare or biotech or something. So Omar, do you have any specific?
Yeah, so I think officially, we have 3 unicorns, including Qasim. The other one is a telco company, and the other one is a biotech company. So one thing for sure that I think the next unicorn will come either from Malaysia or Philippines or Indonesia is coming from two things. I think first one will be somewhat related to energy. The other one is related to healthcare. So a few reasons, especially for Malaysia. So Malaysia is probably consuming a lot of energy in regards to semiconductors. So we have a big semiconductor industry, especially from foreign companies setting up in Malaysia, and including data centers. So data center is a big business now because we have a lot of land and we have a little population. So energy will come in that way. Another thing is Southeast Asia insurance market is quite low. Malaysia is around 50%. I think Indonesia and Philippines share the same amount. So but after COVID, a lot of people realized they need insurance for health, for life. So you can see a big jump in insurance in terms of subscribing to insurance.
Okay.
I think something like Indonesia as well who recently make it compulsory to have car insurance. To have your car to be insured, and that has significantly pushed up the numbers as well. So by that, I think people will learn how to have healthcare insurance, so which we are seeing a lot of health tech companies coming out of Malaysia and also in the region, and we believe that could be one of the growth or the next unicorn coming up from our side as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's good. It's good. So in Thailand, the healthcare tech, or it could be one of the potential startups. So very interesting. So okay. So how do you think about Chandra?
Yeah, so when you're talking about unicorns, right? So it's $1 billion valuation. So basically before 2021, startups actually could reach unicorn status by having many series of fundraising, burn lots of money for growth, acquiring not revenue, but users, and then but maybe less revenue than supposed to be as a unicorn company, and then reach the unicorn status. But since 2021, which is a good thing, that startups now are required to pay attention to revenue, profitability, right? Basically, the bottom line have to be there before you can actually declare yourself as a unicorns and then get the unicorn status. So it's good, right? Meaning that right now, if you are talking about unicorns in startups, they are real unicorns like Carsam, which is one of our portfolio company. Now they already have $25 million US dollars profit actually right now, right? So which is actually amazing for startups, right? So kudos to I feel like the great job of the founders and also the Malaysian ecosystem supporting. Thank you, Omar. And then when you look at, like, for example, like taking example from our portfolio company like Carsam, number one is you need a sizable market. That's why when Omar say that the next one will come from healthcare, I totally agree, especially for Malaysia, which are actually the favorite destination for healthcare from Indonesians. Yeah, Indonesians lining up, going to Penang, going to Malacca, right? And then going even Sarawak, for example, for healthcare. Why? Because the price is can be cheaper than in Indonesia, and then the quality is better, service is better. See, so that's why I think within Southeast Asian countries we have the natural alliance already, like collaborations. We have no issue. Like, okay, Malaysia better, so we go to Malaysia, right? If Philippines better, we go to Philippines, right? But to be a unicorn company, it's very important to have the numbers now. So meaning that you need to have the sizable business. And that is something that we are confident for Southeast Asia, because we, like I mentioned before, we have massive GDP growth, good population numbers, massive economy between all the countries. So we can actually sustain many unicorn companies and from many fields. So I also believe, same with Omar saying that healthcare for sure, right? Of course, fintech will be one, right? E-commerce or even like products like will be very successful as well. Of course, alternative energy will be one, right? Because in most of Southeast Asian countries, we are also struggling with energy supply still, until today. Why? Because the economy keep growing, the energy consumption also growing, but the government's actually quite slow in terms of adjusting. So lots of opportunity, and government actually very welcoming. This is also the part that need to be shared. That government very welcoming in terms of, okay, you can build all the power plants, green energy power plants, help me, and then they even guarantee they will buy from you, right? So they are welcoming. You can be a totally foreign company. For example, the fact that I need to share is 40% of Indonesia electricity supply at least supplied by Marubeni. Okay. If Marubeni decided not to continue in Indonesia, I will have a blackout. Okay? Yeah, in my hometown, for example, right? Because 40% rely on Marubeni power plants. So that's why lots of opportunity for Japanese companies. Please consider our countries for expansion.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Okay. I have Paolo to think about.
For Philippine unicorns, I'm still searching. Obviously, there's Gcash and other fintech platforms, but those didn't really start as startups, so they're more of propped up by large corporations already. And I think specifically in the Philippines, the biggest problem that we're facing is that at a certain point, if you grow your company into like $100 million valuation range, you're already crossing a threshold where it's either you go full unicorn and scale that, but it's difficult to scale it just in the Philippines. And also, at that point, no one will acquire you. So it's now an option, or it's a discussion by a lot of Philippine companies whether are we going to try to breach that $100 million threshold or stay small and then get eventually acquired, right? So right now, unfortunately, that's the case for the Philippines. Of course, we're still kind of looking into other ways to kind of address that. But another big problem also is, and also I think it's an advantage for like countries like Japan, is Philippines is easy to get into. Like one of the largest startups in the Philippines is Grab, because it's used by almost everyone, right? So we're very open to outside startups. Actually, we're also a really good test bed as a second market, especially if you want to prepare to launch your product to the West, right? Because we were colonized by Americans also. I mean, occupied by the Americans also. So we also have a very American type of culture. So we consume a lot of American culture as well. So if for example, you're trying to test your company for a Western market, and let's say if you're Japan, because a lot of the interest of Japanese startups is to actually expand to the US, right? You can actually do some test marketing and test product sampling, even do your designs in the Philippines, then prepare it for actual launch in Western countries. So that being the case, since most startups are also well-funded coming out of the Philippines going in, okay, we're kind of experiencing a difficulty when it comes to growing our startups into unicorn level. That being said, we have a lot of partners here, like from Texas in Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia. I think you could see the Philippines as maybe as a piece specifically for a Southeast Asian unicorn, just like what Chandra said. So if you just need to really identify what is the best cases for your company, and in each region, how can I best deploy my startup, right? Or what resources do I use from that specific country to prop up my startup to be unicorn level? So I think that should be the type of thinking moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your introduction. So in Southeast Asia, there are so many success cases. Once have attraction, once have a get enough revenue in, for example, in Thailand or Philippines, they can move to another country. So the Southeast Asia is one of the biggest market totally. So that could be possible. Oh, it's time to finish. So finally, do you have any PR or our upcoming event promotion? You have one comment. Okay, from Techshake, Philippines.
So yeah, so we're having the Ignite Innovation Conference next week in the Philippines. So if ever you're in the Philippines, please drop by. Our partners also, I mean, it's actually a string of events, right? So I think Mimi here had last August. Then in the next couple of weeks, we'll have Kumpul in Indonesia also, our partner. Then there's going to also be the Vietnam Innovation Summit coming also in November with our partner, InnoLab. And of course, we have our friends, end of October, Switch in Singapore.
Okay.
So there's a lot. And there's also the Philippine Startup Week coming November. So
maybe all of us will join the Switch at the Singapore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think if you have the budget and if you also have the time, going to each country and also just getting to meet and network with
Okay.
each Southeast Asian country is actually going to be very beneficial.
Okay, thank you. It's okay. Okay, okay. Thank you for taking time to that overview. So Ramentech still ongoing until the weekend. So and also we will be here after this session. The Let's catch up later. And as far as the check so far, so many ecosystem player like Texas, one of the biggest ecosystem player in Thailand, and also one of the biggest company in Thailand, Siam Cement Group, is coming here. So if you have any idea to collaborate with Siam Cement Group or Thai major company, please reach out to us later. Okay. So anyway, all of us still here. So let's catch up later. Okay, thank you for taking time today. So this is finished, so it's time to end.